All right, picture this for a second. It's a Saturday morning way back in 1974. The air smells like motor oil and freshly cut grass. Your grandfather pulls up to the local hardware store in his pickup truck because he needs a new lawnmower. He walks in, spots the exact one he wants, and completely ignores the sticker price. He doesn't pull out a credit card, he doesn't check some financing app on a phone, and he certainly doesn't just accept the retail markup. Instead, he just walks right up to the counter, shakes the owner's hand, asks how the family is doing, and confidently negotiates a deal using cold, hard cash. You hear that heavy clink of the metal register, and he walks out the door paying a fraction of what everyone else does.
Now, I want you to contrast that with how we do things today. Back in 1974, that handshake deal, it was frictionless. It was deeply relational. It was a genuine, real conversation between two human beings making a fair exchange. But today? Well, today you just tap a sterile piece of plastic or swipe your smartwatch. The price is fixed, the entire transaction is totally automated, and frankly, it is heavily taxed by invisible fees and corporate margins. We have literally traded human connection and our own bargaining power for the illusion of convenience.
And here's the absolute kicker in all of this. Your grandfather wasn't necessarily richer than you are, but because he had this old-school mindset, he consistently preserved about 15% more of his buying power on pretty much everything he bought. 15%! That is huge. And he did it simply by rejecting corporate convenience and just flat out refusing to be a passive consumer.
So we really got to ask ourselves, why did your grandfather save 15% more than you? Why did we, as a society, collectively lose this incredible financial superpower? Well, in this explainer, we are going to unbrainwash ourselves from modern convenience culture. We're going to completely bypass the banks and dig into 15 old-school tactics to beat inflation. And we're going to start by outsmarting the system through the lost art of negotiation and alternative economies. Let's get into it.
Okay, our first major bucket of tactics is mastering the barter economy. This is all about bypassing currency entirely to shield your value from the silent tax of inflation.
These first 5 methods are all about trading actual value rather than trading dollars. Think about labor for labor networks, right? This is where a mechanic trades engine repairs for a web designer's coding. Or think about neighborhood skill swaps, where maybe a mom trades complex math tutoring for expert tailoring. Then you've got tool libraries. You might need a power washer exactly twice a year. Instead of dropping $500 just to let it sit and gather dust in your garage, a neighborhood tool library lets you borrow it for free, which completely zeroes out that inflation hit. Then there's prioritizing a repair culture. That means learning basic soldering to fix a $1,000 washing machine with a $15 belt, rather than just financing a brand new one. And finally, a DIY production economy. This turns your own home into a micro-factory, whether you're growing a portion of your own food or 3D printing replacement parts. When you trade skills and goods directly like this, no cash changes hands, no interest accrues, no inflation applies at all. You both get exactly what you need, completely outside the traditional banking system. And all of this brilliantly illustrates the core concept of time banking. 1 hour of human labor is always worth exactly 1 hour of human labor. While the fiat dollar sitting in your wallet inflates and loses its purchasing power every single day, your skills do not. An hour of plumbing traded for an hour of graphic design retains its exact fundamental value, totally shielding you from economic turbulence.
Right, moving on to our second category, leveraging cash and bulk. This is where physical greenbacks become your absolute ultimate weapon against retail inflation.
Consider the massive cumulative tax on convenience that you pay every single day without even realizing it. When you pay retail prices with a credit card, you aren't just buying the item. No, you're paying hidden processing fees, potential credit card interest, and massive corporate retail markups. The merchant pays up to 3.5% just to process that piece of plastic. And guess what? They bake that cost right into the sticker price.
So how do we actually hack this? Well, here are ways 6 through 10. First, just simply ask for a 5 to 15% local cash discount at hardware stores or with your mechanic. Most of the time, they'll give it to you. Then there's the 3-envelope tactic, which is so good we'll cover it in detail in just a second. We also have the 4 p.m. Friday rule. This is offering cash to contractors at the end of the week when they're packing up their trucks, they are completely exhausted, and they deeply crave immediate liquidity. Then there's out-of-state vehicle arbitrage. This means flying a dirt-cheap budget airline to a low-cost-of-living state to buy a used truck with cash and then driving it home. You can save thousands over your local overpriced dealership doing this. And finally, negotiating medical and rent cash discounts. A lot of people don't realize this, but hospital billing departments will happily slash a massive bill by up to 50% if you just offer to settle it right then and there with immediate cash. The exact same goes for independent landlords who value a guaranteed lump sum. You absolutely have the power to look independent business owners in the eye and confidently ask, what is the out-the-door cash price?
Okay, let's zoom in on that 3-envelope tactic because honestly, it is pure psychological gold. Here's how it works. Step 1. You put 70% of the asking price in envelope 1. Step 2, put 75% in envelope 2. Step 3, put 80% in envelope 3. When you're negotiating, you lay that first envelope of cold, hard cash on the table. Seeing that physical cash activates this visceral endowment effect in the seller's brain. They literally feel like they already own it. But here's the rule. Never go above that third envelope. It works like magic. Because the seller gets immediate liquidity. There is no waiting for a credit card settlement, no risk of a chargeback whatsoever. You are essentially paying for that immediate value with the lower price.
All right, let's transition to our final bucket of tactics, which centers on old-school community habits. This means buying commodities instead of heavily packaged, highly marked up retail goods.
The difference in your buying power here is just visually staggering. Compare the heavily inflated retail price of a single ribeye steak against the wholesale price of buying primal cuts directly from a local farmer. We're talking $15 to $20 a pound at the grocery store versus maybe $4 to $6 a pound all in when you buy half a cow. When you skip the meat packer, the distributor, and the grocery store, you completely skip their inflated margins. Plus, you lock in today's prices for food that you'll be eating 6 months from now.
So, rounding out our gauntlet of 15, we've got buying those whole sides of beef. We've got joining wholesale community co-ops. This is where maybe 5 families pitch in to buy 50-pound bags of rice and flour directly from restaurant supply chains at an absolute fraction of the cost. We have seasonal preservation purchasing, that's buying crops by the bushel in July when they are dirt cheap and canning them for the winter, effectively locking in summer prices year-round. Then there's the used first trade-in rule. This is simply letting someone else eat that painful initial 20% depreciation the very second they open a box or drive a car off the lot. And finally, pooling resources in community emergency cash pots. These are often called chit funds. This is where, say, 10 families put in $100 a month. Every single month, one family takes the full $1,000 pot, and it rotates until everyone is paid out. It is a completely brilliant way to raise capital that eliminates bank loan interest entirely. All these methods pool local resources and completely shatter those retail markups.
Now, all 15 of these methods rely on one incredibly powerful concept: disintermediation. It sounds complex, but it's just the act of opting out of the middleman system so you can steward your own value. It literally means removing the greedy banking, processing, and retail middlemen from your daily transactions so you can keep that wealth for yourself.
Now, right as you're absorbing these 15 tools, we need to totally pull the rug out and confront the invisible enemy that stole them from you in the first place. Let's look at a pattern break: the fixed pricing illusion.
So, what actually is fixed pricing? I'll tell you what it isn't. It's not some grand innovation for consumer convenience, even though they desperately want you to think it is. Fixed pricing is a heavily engineered corporate profit protection mechanism. It's designed specifically to standardize and maximize their margins. It was created to completely strip you of your bargaining power.
And you know, this illusion didn't just happen overnight. Back in 1861, the very first retail price tags appeared, and their goal was to speed up sales and eliminate haggling. Fast forward to the 1950s, and credit cards were introduced, completely separating the physical pain of payment from the purchase itself. And today? Well, today we are left paying what I call the awkwardness tax. Big box stores and the credit card industry have systematically trained us to feel genuinely embarrassed to just ask for a better deal. That awkward feeling you get in your stomach when you think about asking for a discount, that is 100% manufactured emotion. They want you to feel rude because your discomfort is highly profitable for them. But real negotiation isn't conflict at all. It is collaborative problem solving. It's consumer savings. When you offer an independent merchant cash to save them that 3% processing fee, you are solving a problem for both of you. You're essentially saying, hey, let's bypass the bank and split the difference.
And we really need to hammer home this absolutely enraging reality. The engineered fixed pricing illusion boosts corporate margins by a massive 18%, straight out of your pocket. 18%. That is a tax you pay voluntarily simply because society told you that haggling is somehow impolite.
We have to break this conditioning. If you take away anything from this, remember this quote: The price tag is a suggestion, not a law. You possess the agency to bypass the banks, to reject the plastic, and to truly reclaim your economic independence. Your grandfather wasn't just lucky back in 1974. He just played a much smarter game.
So, I want to leave you with this provocative question, something to really think about. What will you negotiate today? I challenge you to start acting a little more like your grandfather. Walk into a local independent store tomorrow, leave the plastic in your wallet, look the owner right in the eye, and ask for a cash discount. You might just be completely surprised by how much power you truly have.